Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all having a lovely day. Today I'd like to talk about this camera that I'm using to do this YouTube video. This is a Sony NEX-EA50 camera. I think this is a great camera. I got this camera almost 8 years ago when I decided to start taking YouTube videos more seriously. At the time, I had about 2 board repair videos up that I did with a $100 JVC Ethereum that had no microphone input, so I couldn't use a microphone like this. It was falling apart, and it kind of sucked. And I wanted to get something that would give me good quality, but also something that would grow with me, and above all, was noob-friendly. I didn't want to have to deal with a separate audio interface and a video interface and having to sync audio or any of that stuff, or have to deal with buffer, overflow, whatever, if I didn't set something right in my interface while I was still a noob. This thing had XLR inputs that you could switch between line and mic. It had phantom power. Beautiful. This thing also has really amazing zoom and focus, particularly Sony's face detect when it comes to focus is amazing. Now almost every camera's got it right, but back 10 years ago they didn't. Look, like the speed at which it can adjust the focus based on how far I am away is really amazing. By 2014 standards, it's amazing, and I'd even say it's amazing by 2021 standard. Also, it is a large sensor camera, and it came with an amazing zoom lens, so that when I'm doing those recordings of the of hearings, I can actually zoom in a lot, so I wouldn't have to do it with digital zoom or anything like that, and this camera does a great job with that. I love this camera, and I was able to get a great deal on it used. I did not pay the retail price for this camera, and I've had to do a couple of repairs with it over the years. So one of them was when I took it to a hearing in January, and unfortunately, I had to go through the TSA, and the TSA was not very nice to my lens. I was able to get it fixed someplace local. They did a great job. And later in the year, the HDMI port was not working properly. The HDMI port in this camera stopped working properly recently. So if somebody walks in the room and they're stepping too hard, you'll get jitters in the audio and eventually no signal on the screen because the HDMI port is just in really bad condition on this camera, which is not surprising. I've used it, I've carried it around everywhere, and I have an HDMI cable that's hanging from it that's honestly just way too heavy and has no business coming out of this camcorder. So I needed to get a new one. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to show you what it used to be like to get things fixed in the United States versus what it's like now. It's actually easier for me to find parts to this camera than to the actual devices that I work on for a living. So I had a problem with the HDMI port. And one of the really cool things at Sony is they actually have a services website that you can go to where you could find things. So it says over here, again, this website, admittedly, it looks a little bit like it hasn't been changed since the 90s. You can see that it has a up-to-date copyright, but you can see the amount of space it takes up, the way the word contact and log in over here are not properly anti-aliased. It looks horrible. But this website does allow me to get access to parts. Now, again, I wasn't able to get a schematic from this website. When you search for a manual, the only manual that you get is this. This manual is absolute garbage. This is useless. This literally tells me the size of the camera, and I believe it tells me the weight of the camera. However, if you Google the model of the camera, this website had a full schematic, and the full schematic looks something like this. This is beautiful. It tells you exactly how the camera is put together. It shows you all the parts in the camera and how they go together. It gives you a parts list. It gives you an electronics diagram of all the different things that are inside of it. This is just beautiful. If I was Dave Jones, I damn near may call this sex on a stick. This is an amazing document for this camera. And I was able to find my HDMI port over here by looking at this. I had to turn my monitor around because the PDF is strange, but this is right around the area where my HDMI port is. I believe mine is 159. And when you go down over here, it says A1903-480A FP2000 flexible board complete. And when I go over to the site over here, check this out. So if I switch back over to Sony's website and I go parts, I can actually type that in over here. And let's see, do you think I'll be able to still get an HDMI port to a camera that is over 9 years old? A1903-480A. Hit search, and this is actually available. This little part over here is available, and you can buy it for $34.40. Some may say that's a bit much for an HDMI port, but again, this is a part to a camera that is 9 years old. Sony no longer sells this camera. And I was able to buy this part, and they actually sent it to me in this nice little box. So it came in a box. The box then had a bunch of bubble wrap around an envelope. Inside the envelope was more bubble wrap, and inside that bubble wrap was this little box over here. It says made in Japan, NEX-EA50, and you get this. And look at the quality of this little part over here. When you look at the, so you get the HDMI port, and if you look, take a look at the quality of the traces, it is really something else. This is a really nice professional level camera, and they do make sure that you're getting professional level parts along with it. Looks like this is not the only thing I need to replace my HDMI port in. Yeah, look at this. Like, really nice quality traces. And there was an option on the site for me to actually buy the port by itself without the ribbon cable. So if I want to save money by soldering a replacement port onto this ribbon cable, there is actually an option to do that. You can do that if you want, because you may be thinking $35 is a lot. Now, another thing you may say is, listen, $35 for this, Sony's ripping you off. For a cable, but you have to understand what they're doing. They are making a part available that arrived here within days of me purchasing it for a camera that is discontinued. This camera was discontinued something around like 8 or 9 years ago. This is not sold anymore. You can't buy this in any store. And they made the parts available so that I can fix my camera. And also this camera, when it came out, it retailed for over $3,300. So 34 bucks for a port? To save a camera like this, that's totally fine with me. Now compare and contrast that with a lot of the products that I work on. I can't buy stuff to fix the devices that I work on right now, devices that just came out. I have to deal with I have to go on Skype and all these other weirdo looking websites and then wire money off to people that may never actually send me what I paid for and hope and pray that what I'm getting is good. And Sony is willing to make all of this available. Look at this beautifully done schematic. Look at this. Look at this. Look at how detailed this is. It literally accounts for every single screw. Everything. Look at that. Look at that. I'll leave a link to it in the description so that you can take a look. Everything inside of this is accounted for. Every single inductor, every single capacitor, even every individual transistor. It gives you the Sony part number and the manufacturer's part number for every single part. Do you see Sony cameras just rampantly bursting into flames as a result of the fact that there are people out there that can repair them because this document is made available? Has Sony gone out of business because so many people have ripped off their camera as a result of them making this document available? No. Look at how detailed this document is. Literally every single piece of the camera, exactly how to put it together and take it apart. It is all here, and Sony seems to be doing just fine as a professional video and photography business that sells these types of cameras. And I think it's really important to take a look at stuff like this just so that you can get a sense for what we've lost. This isn't something that I'm talking about from 30 years ago or 50 years ago or 70 years ago, because often I'll post and we'll show manuals of Altair computers or old stereo systems and stuff. This is from 2012. And the sad thing is, many companies nowadays are not going to give you access to any of this stuff. Nikon recently has shut down a lot of their authorized repair centers. More and more manufacturers and more industries are not giving people access to this type of stuff. But even just 10 years ago, you were able to get access to this type of stuff, and the world wasn't falling. Again, the camera industry wasn't failing. You didn't have Sony coming out with their NEX-EA50 and selling it on Amazon for $5 and putting Sony out of business. And you didn't have cameras that were just exploding as people walk down the block. I think it's really important to focus on this and highlight the fact that this used to be normal. This used to be normal. And dare I say it, it still is normal. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. My apologies if there were any dropouts in this video. Literally, if I walk the wrong way and I jiggle the stand, the HDMI port the cable will wiggle around the port. So I'm going to get going and replace this thing soon so that we have a working camera. And eventually, I really would like to actually learn how to use the lighting in this camera properly. I either show up as purple or orange because I'm too dumb to properly set up my lights in white balance. At some point, I'm probably going to find some filming student and just pay him for a couple of hours of time to teach me how to stop being a noob with the camera, because I have way more than I'm qualified to actually use with this thing. So I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.